be taken.
That's the UK's Foreign Secretary there, David Cameron. Let's speak now to Nawaf Al-Thani, who's the director at the Gulf International Forum in Washington, D.C., also the former Qatari Director of Defence Intelligence Operations. Thank you for being with us on the programme tonight. There is a lot for us to talk about, given these flashpoints that have opened up right across the region in recent days. And I wonder, first of all, what your assessment is right now about where any negotiations, any talks over a possible solution to this crisis are left, given what we've seen in terms of that assassination, that bombing, and also, as we just touched on there, the conflict and the tensions right now in the Red Sea.
Well, Ben, to be honest, the window is closing very soon for negotiations. It's still open. The Qataris and others like the Egyptians and the Americans have shown willingness to move forward, but that window is closing because the conflict seems to be widening beyond Gaza and northern Israel with the border with Lebanon, with the assassination of al-Aruri in Beirut. And obviously, as mentioned in the previous clip, what's happening in the Red Sea, this thing is starting to unravel. And if the Israelis don't show seriousness in ending, or at least sitting down for negotiation, it's very hard to see a peaceful settlement ending this conflict.
What would be a sensible solution to get Israel back around the table for these negotiations? Because it's very easy perhaps for us to be distracted by these flashpoints elsewhere. We know, for example, that Hezbollah's leader has said that yes, there will be retaliation, but has stopped short of calling for outright direct attacks. At the moment, it certainly seems that the lid has been kept on some of these tensions, but is it your assessment that at any moment that could change?
Absolutely. I think with the widening of the escalation to reach, the Beirut, the capital of Lebanon, I think the potential for this being a wider conflict becomes a reality every day. Now, the answer is within the Israeli government itself. It has to ask itself the question. Is the operations being handled in the way it has been in the past almost 90 days now in Gaza? Has it achieved any of the stated goals? The answer is no. I don't think Israel is quote unquote safer. The Palestinians, the death toll is going beyond 22,000. The humanitarian situation there is really terrible. And the Israelis have to get to the realization that military operations won't reach to the end state of peace.
If we look a little longer term, what this conflict has reminded us of course, is that Western leaders are re-engaging with this process, trying to find a peaceful solution to what's happening in that region. Talking once again about a two-state solution. But at the moment, that is all it is, isn't it? It is just talk. I wonder how any of this talk can be translated into some sort of action, something that is more long-lasting. One imagines in the short term that looks like a ceasefire. What is the long-term, the realistic long-term goal here?
Well, the realistic long-term obviously is a two-state solution, but the actual realization by everyone in this conflict that it won't go away because we just ignore it is now upon us. It is something that has been here for decades. This new chapter in the conflict just, puts a great big light and shines a big light on the fact that it won't go away. Obviously, the day after is a humanitarian crisis that the world will have to deal with. The day after will be the issue of the two-state solution. But a ceasefire has to be the first and immediate concern for all, because without a ceasefire, we're going to get into a perpetual war, a forever war in the region that will engulf everyone.
Yes.
You just saw a clip of Lord Cameron mentioning British ships in the Red Sea. This is starting to involve more countries, more nations, and it's going to get out of hand, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Israel's biggest supporter, the United States, is moving towards that view, advocating once again for that two-state solution that you talk about. But fundamentally, Israel has rejected that idea. We know Israel's ambassador to the UK saying that her country will not accept an independent Palestinian state. Absolutely no, were her words. And also, we know Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has echoed those similar sentiments. And so whilst that is still the stated position of the Israeli government, what hope is there for any sort of solution?
Well, the hope is always there that, cooler heads prevail and saner voices that do exist in Israel are louder and speak the reality of the situation on the ground to their own government. The issue of a forever war is unsustainable, and no state for the Palestinians, forced relocation. This is not something that the international community or the Israeli public, I don't think, would accept on the long run.
Yeah.
So a no solution is not a solution. I think everyone should come together to put their heads together and actually sit down and negotiate a solution.
And
countries
really
like Qatar have really put their best foot forward, but we need a partner for this.
Yes, briefly for us, and sorry to interrupt, but I wonder, you talked there about cool heads coming back around the table. Do you have any faith in current leadership around the world? The sort of leadership we saw perhaps in the 1990s when previous settlements and previous deals were done. Do you have any faith that the right people are in the right jobs around the world right now? And I say that as we go into an election year, particularly in the United States, but also in the UK.
Well, I don't want to sound pessimistic. It is not the same situation as we were back in the 90s, obviously. It is an election year in the United States. You have this right-wing new conservative government in Israel. It is not the same world we were back then. But also, we didn't have over 22,000 dead civilians back then in a 90-day war, almost 90 days. So all in all, I think there is hope. But that window is closing. And unfortunately, the only alternative is a war that goes on for months and maybe years.
Really grateful for your time. Thank you for being with us. Nawaf Al-Thani there speaking to us live from Doha. Grateful for you being with us. Thank you. Around the